Have you ever pondered the existence of God, a divine entity, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent? This is a question that has sparked countless debates, stirring the minds of philosophers, theologians, and seekers of truth for centuries. The concept of God is deeply ingrained in our cultures, shaping our values, norms, and even our understanding of the universe. Yet, despite the reverence and awe that the idea of God often inspires, there are those who harbor negative feelings towards this concept. They question the nature of God, the validity of religious doctrines, and the role of divinity in our lives. These individuals often cite various reasons ranging from philosophical dilemmas to personal experiences, so it begs the question, what stirs such sentiments? What could possibly lead to a disdain for what many consider to be the epitome of love, wisdom, and power? But what could possibly be the reasons to detest such a divine entity? Let's delve into this intriguing topic. First on our list, the problem of evil. Imagine a world filled with suffering and injustice, yet ruled by an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving God. Does that make sense to you? This is the philosophical conundrum known as the problem of evil. It pushes us to question, how can a benevolent and omnipotent God allow such evil and suffering to prevail? If God is all-knowing, wouldn't he foresee the pain and torment that his creations would endure? And if he is all-powerful, couldn't he prevent it all from happening? If he is all-loving, why would he even let his creations experience such pain? This paradox, this problem of evil, is a stumbling block for many when it comes to belief in God. It challenges the very core of what we are led to believe about an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving deity. This paradox often raises questions about God's existence. Next up, the prevalence of injustice. We live in a world where inequality is rampant, where the scales of justice seem to be perpetually unbalanced. Wealth and resources are unevenly distributed, with a small fraction of the population holding the lion's share, while the majority grapple with poverty and deprivation. Innocent people suffer, victims of circumstances beyond their control, while those who perpetrate harm often go unpunished. Children are born into war-torn regions, their futures stolen before they even begin. These glaring injustices lead many to question the existence of a benevolent and just God. If God is all-powerful and all-loving, why does he allow such disparity and suffering? Why are the innocent punished while the guilty roam free? Why are some born into privilege while others struggle their entire lives? These questions, unanswered, can breed resentment and doubt towards the idea of God. Why would a just God allow such inequity? Thirdly, the concept of hell. This is a notion that's been deeply ingrained in many cultural and religious narratives, a place of eternal punishment where souls are condemned to suffer forever. Now imagine a God who is perceived as loving and kind, yet holds the power to cast souls into a realm of unending torment. This dichotomy can stir a whirlwind of negative emotions. The idea of hell can lead to fear, anxiety, and even anger. It's a concept that can be hard to reconcile with a compassionate deity. Eternal punishment seems disproportionately harsh, especially when viewed against the backdrop of human frailty and the relatively brief span of our lives. This fear of eternal damnation can lead to a form of spiritual resentment. After all, who would want to love and worship a deity that threatens such a fate? The concept of hell, therefore, becomes a point of contention and a reason to harbor negative feelings towards God. The fear of eternal torment can indeed breed resentment. The fourth reason, God's silence. Imagine being in a relationship with someone who never communicates with you. They never respond to your questions, your pleas for help, or your expressions of love. That's the experience many have with God. This divine silence can be deeply unsettling. It can lead to feelings of abandonment, resentment, even anger. In times of crisis, when guidance is most needed, the heavens often seem silent. This lack of divine intervention can be particularly distressing, making one question the very existence of a higher power. In the face of natural disasters, war, and personal tragedies, the absence of a divine voice or action can be a source of deep disillusionment. It can lead to the question, if God exists, why doesn't he speak or act? The silence of God can indeed be deafening. Halfway through our list, the absence of evidence. This is a major factor that can instigate skepticism and even resentment. When we talk about evidence, we mean tangible, empirical proof, something that can be seen, tested, and verified. In the case of God, such evidence is notoriously absent. We're told to believe in a divine being, an almighty creator, yet where is the solid proof? This isn't about demanding to see God in physical form. It's about questioning why there isn't any undeniable, empirical evidence that can put all doubts to rest. In almost all other aspects of life, we require evidence. We don't just take things on faith, so why should the existence of God be any different? The absence of concrete evidence leads many to question, to doubt, and yes, sometimes to resent. After all, faith can be a challenging thing to maintain in the face of persistent uncertainty. In the realm of logic, absence of evidence can be considered as evidence of absence. Sixth on our list, the concept of predestination. This idea, deeply rooted in many religious doctrines, posits that every event in our lives, every choice we make, is actually predetermined, that our paths are not ours to forge, but have been etched in the annals of time by a divine hand. Some find comfort in this notion, feeling that it lifts the weight of uncertainty from their shoulders, but for others, it can be a source of profound frustration and resentment. Imagine feeling that your life, with all its joys, sorrows, triumphs, and failures, isn't truly your own, that you're merely playing out a script written long before you were born. This can lead to a sense of helplessness, a feeling of being trapped in a cosmic play with no option to improvise or change the plot. It can breed resentment towards a deity who, it seems, holds all the cards while we are but puppets on a string. The idea of our lives being predestined can indeed be distressing. Next, the hypocrisy in religious institutions. This is a topic that hits close to home for many. Corruption and deceit, unfortunately, have found their way into the sanctum of spirituality, tainting the divine image that these institutions claim to uphold. Imagine the shock and disillusionment for a believer when they discover that the very institution they trusted to guide them towards God is riddled with hypocrisy. It's a betrayal that sears the soul, creating resentment and mistrust. It's not uncommon to hear of religious leaders leading lives that starkly contradict the principles they preach. Instances of financial embezzlement, power abuse, and moral failings are just a few examples. These actions not only betray the trust of the followers but also distort their perception of God. It's crucial to remember, though, that these are the actions of individuals, not a reflection of the divine. However, the actions of the few can indeed taint the image of the divine. Eighth, the concept of original sin. Now let's dive into this intriguing concept that has been a cornerstone of many religious doctrines for centuries. Original sin refers to the first sin committed by Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, a transgression that supposedly tainted all of humanity. Because of this sin, it is said that all humans are born with an inherent tendency towards wrongdoing. This notion can lead to feelings of guilt and resentment towards God. It's like being held accountable for a crime you didn't commit. Imagine being born into a debt you never signed up for. It's a heavy burden to bear, a stain that can't be washed away. The concept of original sin implies that we are flawed from birth, needing redemption. It suggests that we are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. This can foster a sense of unworthiness and a continuous struggle for absolution. The burden of a sin we did not commit can indeed be heavy. Ninth on our list, religious wars and conflicts. These have been a part of human history for millennia, with countless lives lost and societies uprooted in the name of faith. From the Crusades in the Middle Ages to modern-day sectarian violence, the human capacity for destruction in the pursuit of religious righteousness is a stark reality. This history can lead to a deep-seated resentment towards the concept of God. It's not difficult to understand why. After all, if a divine being exists, why would such violent conflict be permitted in their name? Why should faith become a reason for division rather than unity? Some argue that it's not religion or God at fault, but human interpretation and misuse of religious teachings. Nevertheless, the fact remains that these wars and conflicts, ostensibly fought in the name of God, have resulted in immeasurable suffering and loss. The bloodshed in the name of the divine can indeed be disheartening. Finally, the fear of death and the unknown. This fear, deeply ingrained in our human psyche, is often a source of discomfort and anxiety. We are creatures of habit, of routine, and the idea of venturing into the unknown, especially when it carries the weight of finality, can be unnerving. It's natural, then, to resent the entity believed to hold the keys to this unknown. Some might argue that a benevolent God wouldn't create such fear, wouldn't leave us in the dark. The resentment can grow from the belief that God, with all his power, could provide reassurance, could ease this fear, but chooses not to. This fear of death and the unknown, it's not just about the end of life, it's about the unanswered questions, the unresolved mysteries, the unexplored territories. It's about the silence that follows our pleas for understanding. The inevitability of death and the mystery it holds can indeed breed resentment. So, these are the 10 reasons some might harbor resentment towards God. We've journeyed through a sea of philosophical dilemmas, societal issues, and complex theological concepts. From the haunting problem of evil to the perceived injustice in our world, and the daunting concept of hell to the deafening silence we sometimes experience, we've explored these reasons in depth. We discussed the often cited absence of concrete evidence, delved into the concept of predestination, and took a critical look at hypocrisy within religious institutions. The notion of original sin, the history of religious conflicts, and the human fear of death and the unknown were also dissected. Each of these reasons has its roots in personal experiences, philosophical debates, and the quest for understanding that is inherent to the human condition. While these reasons are thought-provoking, remember, they are not universal truths, but perspectives that some individuals may hold.